Good day. It's JJ MMA. Today, I am going to be giving you guys my top 15 favorite fighters of all time. A video that many of you guys have been asking me for on my live streams. Maybe not the video, but you guys have been asking who my favorite fighters are. So today, I'm going to tell you guys who my top 15 favorite fighters are. And by the way, this changes about every year. This changes drastically about every year and a half. Some guys don't really leave that top 5 range. Once we get there, those are my ride or dies. I'm never switching up on them. But, the bottom of this list, there is some fluidity. There's guys who come to the top and then you're really rooting for them. And then, maybe they go on a big skid and then they kind of, drift out of your imagination. Like, for example, Tuivasa. Tuivasa was on a big streak, beating some cans at heavyweight. And then obviously he went on this big skid and I just kind of stopped really rooting for him as much. Obviously I'm rooting for a Tuivasa win, but at the same time, I stopped really putting so much stock in him when your fighter's on that big losing streak. And also, if you guys can't see up right here, we have hit 100 videos on the channel in only 4 months. And I would like to thank you guys so much for all the support that you guys have shown me recently and how many people have been tuning into my live streams. We've been having a lot of viewers on some of these live streams. As you guys can see, 8.8 thousand views right here on this UFC 330 live stream. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the support there. But without further ado, let me stop talking so much, and I'm going to get right into the list. Starting off with, also, by the way, I'm sick, so I'm battling through this video to get this out for you guys. Starting off with some honorable mentions, man. Honorable mentions. This is an all-time list, but a lot of these guys are still currently active, considering I only started watching attentively like 3 to 4 years ago, probably. So the honorable mentions are some guys that I've never really watched fight live. And then obviously one of them I've watched fight live a lot, but he just retired. But all these guys are retired now. Mighty Mouse is in my honorable mentions. He's very close to making the list. I have a poster of him back there that you guys can't see. Nick Diaz is up there, I think. Nick Diaz always had sick fights. Too bad the UFC suspended him for the marijuana use. I think that's really bullshit. And yeah, he came back looking terrible. Came back looking absolutely terrible against Robbie Lawler. Felt really bad watching that fight. And then Dustin Poirier, man. Dustin Poirier, I've obviously watched him fight a lot. Absolutely sick fighter. He's always fighting to the death, bro. Sick, just striking. He's from the southpaw stance, right-handed southpaw. Really smooth boxing. I love the way he throw 1, 2, 3, and he's really kind of that, like, the left hook looks slow, but once it hits you, it like fucking clobbers you. That's how he put out Benoit Saint-Denis with that, or not left hook, the right hook. I'm forgetting it's a lead hook. But yeah, man, I think Dustin Poirier is an absolutely sick fighter. I like a lot of people hate on that salty man energy and that sore loser energy after he wins a fight, but I kind of relate to it, and that's kind of going to be about what this favorite fighters list is about. Kind of guys that I relate to a lot. And I relate to that Dustin Poirier salty man energy. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a really good thing to have in combat sports. And if I were to compete, I low-key have that salty man sore winner energy if I was good enough for it. You know what I'm saying? But obviously I'd be very humble. I'm a very humble person. But yeah, man, enough talking about myself, bro. I sound like Bisping. Mighty Mouse, Nick Diaz, Dustin Poirier. Those are my honorable mentions. So starting off the list at number 15, here, I'm going to give you guys some graphics now and let you guys don't need to look at my YouTube channel anymore. So starting off at the top 15, number 15, I'm going to put Diego Lopez. I know he kind of recently debuted. He debuted in 2022. I think it was 2023, but he's already had like damn well over 10 UFC fights since then. This guy's insanely active, always fighting on injuries. I'm pretty sure he still had, injured feet in that Garcia fight, getting pieced up by Steve Garcia in that first round, losing the second round, and all of a sudden he just says, fuck it, let me brawl. And that's the exact definition of what Diego Lopez is. Diego Lopez tries to be technical, and then when he's losing, he says, all right, time to brawl, time to get in the pocket, deal some damage. This guy's hands are insanely heavy, crazy power. If you guys want me to make a power tier list, we can do that as well. But this guy is the embodiment of a brawler right here. When he's on the ground, he has super slick jiu-jitsu that goes really under the radar. Throws up arm triangles, or not arm triangles, fucking hell, arm bars, triangle chokes. He's throwing up his legs and he usually gets them. That's the thing. Unless it's against Volk, obviously you can't submit Volk. I'm convinced Volk is literally unsubmittable, considering that he got out of that mounted guillotine with Brian Ortega. But yeah, man, Diego Lopes, he gets active when he's in knockdown, bro. That's what I love about him. And he has that aura too, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has that TikTok edit aura, which kind of made me, like, when I was first starting to watch, and like the edits started to come out of Diego Lopes, like when he had his first 2-3 UFC wins against, it was like he had the win against Sadiq Youssef on the 300 card. He beat Sabatini early in his career. You know, he had those first couple of wins in his career, and that's when I was hopping on that hype train. So I've really watched Diego Lopes' career play out. And yeah, man, I'm really happy to see where he's at. I think he is a future champion. He is on the right side of 30. You know, he is on the right side of 30. He's, I think, 31 or something, 31, 32. So he is getting up there in age. But the Brazilians are usually kind of unks when they start fighting in the UFC. But I think Diego Lopes beats Movsar in a rematch. And if Movsar ever gets the belt, hopefully he doesn't. We're manifesting, fingers crossed, that he doesn't. But yeah, I think Diego Lopes is a future featherweight champ after Volk retires. I don't think he gets it done at lightweight. I think Oliveira probably beats him, but I still love Diego Lopes. This is my boy. All right, dude. Next up on this list, Sean Strickland at number 14 on my list. Sean Strickland, here's the fucking thing, you guys. Dude, Sean Strickland's, I know his fighting style, it gets kind of boring. It's kind of just throwing the jab out there, trying to control his opponents. But this ain't all about the fighter itself, man. Dude, this ain't all about the fight style itself. Even though some people argue that a Strickland fight is more boring than a recent Makhachev fight or Chimaev versus DDP. I don't know who would argue. Oh, I do know who would argue that. You know, it's fans from that region, if you know what I'm talking about, the Caucasus region. But then they all kind of gravitate onto those fighters because they have nothing else in sports. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, you don't got any good basketball athletes from there, so they just kind of gravitate onto Chimaev, Makhachev, you know, Khabib when he was fighting. And they still cling on to that 29-0 record, even though he didn't really challenge himself in there. Even though I think Khabib was a great fighter, man. I think he would have beat Oliveira. A lot of people like to debate that. But anyways, Strickland is, dude, outside the cage. This guy is absolutely hilarious. The press conferences, always talking to shit at the press conferences, putting his dignity on the line. And then he gets in the cage and it's time to back it up. And by back it up, I mean he actually fights. You know, he's actually trying to fight you and trying to deal damage. Unlike Makhachev, who just likes to hold on to you on the ground. Unlike some other fighters that just like to hold on for control time, when they could literally be submitting you. Like, you guys saw Nurullo Alayev's last fight, right, against Mike Davis. He pulled out an arm bar last second when he could have been doing that the entire fight, but instead the entire fight, he was just clinging on to his opponent for dear life. Very, very frustrating and boring. But look at what Strickland did to Chimaev's face in their last fight. You can't tell me that's boring shit with the straight face. It's not boring at all because he was fucking up Chimaev, man. He's just put that jab on him, stumbled him in the second, made him panic shoot, got on top of him, big ground and pound, and he backs it up. His Twitter's always funny. He's always saying whatever he wants. Dude, it's not just the entertainment factor with this guy in the cage. It's outside the cage. Dude, this guy, he's always putting on shows, man, even when he's not fighting. When he's not fighting for a long time, it is like, all right, bro, when are you going to get back in the cage? You're kind of getting annoying. I will admit that as a big fan of him. But, yeah, man, I think Strickland's at number 14. We got bigger fish to fry on this tier list. So let's move on to the number 13 spot on this tier list, man. Just a spot ahead of him. Even though there's less personality here with Alex Pereira, I'll spoil it for you. Even though there's less personality here with Alex Pereira, his fight style inside the cage is absolutely sick, man. And, dude, like, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, like, if this list was, like, solely based on fight style, I'd have Hoofy in, like, the top 5, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to have Hoofy on this list because he has no personality whatsoever. But I think Hoofy's a super cool fighter, too. So that may be an honorable mention as well. He's also still coming up. So this list is kind of also going to circulate on, you know, who's been around for a while. Like, I'm not going to put Quillan Salkild in here, even though, you know, he's one of my favorite fighters. I've been watching him since the come up at, what was it? It starts with an E. Eternal, yeah, Eternal. I've been watching him since his fight with Don Marfan at Eternal. But yeah, man, like the younger guys aren't really going to be on the list unless it's someone that I've really been putting a lot of stock into. But Alex Pereira, man, nonetheless, I need to talk about him. Bro, Alex Pereira, this guy, we know the drill with this guy. His power, the low kicks. That half is done, man. He's just chopping up the leg. The aura, the girth, the tonnage. I had to, dude. Bedtime's been ingraining that into my head. I need to stop saying that, but I feel like it's not just the aura with Alex Pereira. It's the fighters that this guy's beat for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he beat Ankalaev for me after Ankalaev beat him when he was injured, you know, born decision, holding him up against the cage. He saved us from an Ankalaev title reign. He KO'd him and not KO'd him. He didn't flatline him. That would have been much more satisfying. But he finished him in a minute and 20 seconds. He finished him in a minute and 20 seconds in the first round. Nobody else has ever done that to Big Ankh. Dude, he did that for me, bro. I hate Big Ankh. Dude, I don't hate him as a guy. I'm sure he's a great guy and all that, but dude, Big Ankh as a champion in the light heavyweight division would have been fucking horrifying. It would have been terrible. It would have been terrible to see that gnome walking around there with the belt and the nose protruding 5 feet off of his face. I would have hated it. And then he took out Khalil Roundtree for me. I don't like Khalil Roundtree either. Khalil Roundtree's a fucking sissy, man. I'm kidding, man. Khalil Roundtree would obviously put the beats on me. I have bad knees too, so he'd probably oblique kick the shit out of me. But yeah. And who else did he beat? Who else did Pereira beat for me? He beat Adesanya, bro. That's right. He beat Adesanya, and then Adesanya got it back. He literally fluked him in the second round. It is what it is, but dude, Pereira beat Adesanya for me. You know how much that means to me? Dude, hand over my heart. I know you guys can't see me on the webcam, but hand over my heart. Do you know how much that means to me? To beat Izzy. Beat Izzy, bro. And that was like not that long after the dog incident, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to leave you frozen like Elsa. And then Alex Pereira just, dude, he TKOs him standing, bro. Mark Goddard, he prevented us from seeing a flatlined out cold Izzy, which would have been great to see at the time. Now I don't have that much of a resentment towards Izzy. I don't really care anymore. He seems like he's kind of healed himself as a person. I don't know. Hopefully his dog's in good spirits, but you know what I'm saying? You know, hopefully he's not the same anymore. And you know, also that was like 4 years ago that's happened. So I don't really care that much about Izzy anymore. But Alex Pereira, you know, he kind of attached me to him after beating Adesanya, and then after that, you know, having nonstop entertaining fights. And yeah, bro, this guy's he's on my list, man, for sure. He's one of my favorite fighters. Alex Pereira's up there, and I did feel really sad when Ciryl Gane beat him. And Ciryl Gane would have beat him anyways, watching how that first round went. But yeah, man, I wish those back of the head shots didn't happen. He got dropped with the jab anyways. It is what it is. But I love Alex Pereira, you know what I'm saying? Next up on this list, at number 12, I'm debating the spot right here. I think at number 12, I'm going to put Charles Oliveira here. I was thinking that I would have him higher up on the list, yeah, because I used to be like a massive fan of Charles Oliveira. He used to be in my top 5, kind of when I was a bit more of a casual. But that's the thing about the thing about Charles Oliveira, why he's not so much higher up on the list, because Charles Oliveira, let's face it, he's an amazing guy, like genuinely one of the coolest, nicest dudes in the UFC. Entertaining fighter, goes out there to entertain every time, except for that Holloway fight. He goes out there to entertain every time. I believe the most finishes in UFC history. Absolutely sick fighter, super underrated on the feet as well. A lot of people don't give him credit for it. But man, let's face it, his fan base is insanely annoying. I might make a most annoying fan bases tier list as well, but his fan base actually pisses me the fuck off. Like I mean, I don't know why. It's not like they're just I don't know how to say it. It's not like they're just goblins like the fucking Makhachev, Dagestan, Hamzat combined fan base, but they're just like, they're everywhere posting gifs of him, and it gets annoying to some point, and they're always saying, you know, hi brother, it's me, Charles Oliveira, happy birthday to you, let's go. Like, that was cool when Oliveira said it, but when all of his fans repeat it 50 times over and over and over again in you know, separate comment sections, it gets annoying, bro. So his fan base is kind of what keeps him lower on the list for me. But man, I gotta admit, I am a part of that fan base. I'm not a part of the annoying sector of the fan base, but I am a fan of Charles Oliveira for sure. Charles do Bronx Oliveira. I was very sad when Makhachev beat him. You know, I was pretty sad, even though I love Ilya too. I was sad when he got KO'd by Ilya. Watching that live, I had a really bad day that day. Other than the KO, so I remember that was just like another one onto it. Just seeing Charles Oliveira out cold, and literally nobody's done that to him before that. So, yeah, I remember watching him versus Arman fight live, and dude, I felt like oh, so much shit could have happened there. I was so salty after that because he could have submitted Arman if not for the shorts. I was more of a casual once again at the time, even though I was watching more back then. I was paying attention and watching attentively back then. But for whatever reason, I did think that Oliveira was robbed just because it was a split. You know, my emotions played in as a factor towards Oliveira. But watching it back, I do think Arman won that. But I think Oliveira beats him in a 5-rounder, in my opinion. I love Charles Oliveira. Who doesn't? Let's be honest. And yeah, Charles Oliveira is at my number 12 spot. We're going to move on to the number 11 spot on this tier list. Who do we got? Oh, yeah. Number 11 on my list, not tier list, I think I just said tier list, but number 11 on my favorite fighters list, Petr Yan, bro. I feel like not enough people love Petr Yan like I do. Dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Lucas Tracy does. I know Lucas Tracy has him, like, literally number 2 all time or wherever he has him, but, which is absolutely insane to say. But, man, Petr Yan, bro. What an absolutely sick fighting style. He's low-key hella funny, too. People don't give him enough credit for how funny he is. If he spoke English, this guy would have trash talk like McGregor, bro. I swear. Okay, maybe not that far. But this guy would have, like, I don't know. He has some real slick one-liners, you know what I'm saying? Like, he literally 10-7'd Merab at that press conference. Merab at the press conference. Merab was like, hey, bro, want to come to my jacuzzi? Bro? We have fun time. And then Petr Yan says in whatever Russian. I can't make an impression of him because it's him just speaking another language. And then the translator translates it, which takes away aura from Yan, you know what I'm saying? And the translator translates it and says, I feel like you should have girls in your jacuzzi instead of who you have. And who Merab has is straight dudes in his jacuzzi, straight dudes in his jacuzzi, bro. Like Aljo, you know, he's got all his boys from Georgia. It's just straight dudes all clumped in next to each other in a small jacuzzi. It's kind of gay, man. And Petr Yan called him out for that, kept calling him gay, and said, and he said that his favorite skit of Merab's was when he like face planted on the ice or something. It was like some skit that, or it was like some, not a skit, but like a video that Merab took of him like doing some activity and he like face planted on the ice. And then Merab really didn't like when he said that. But man, Yan is real slick with his personality. And if he spoke English, bro, I'm just saying, dog, he needs to learn how to speak English because we'd get insane press conference out of this guy if we did. He called Sean O'Malley a prostitute on the side of the street or something along those lines because O'Malley had like the purple and blue hair. O'Malley looked like a mess when he was fighting Yan, and Yan called him a whore, prostitute, or something like that on the side of the street. It was pretty funny, man. But yeah, bro, Petr Yan, other than his personality, and I know I talked a lot about his personality, but just because it's really underrated about him, is because his striking, man. Dude, this guy's his boxing, liver kicks, chews up your legs. That calf is done, man. He doesn't even go to the legs that much because he's too busy pinging your head. Super defensively responsible. Always downloading that data, bro, with the beakers and test tubes. Switching stances, bro. You know what I mean? To break it down like Corey Nerdhagen would. But he beat the brakes off of Corey Nerdhagen, too. And he beat Merab. And I hate Merab's fight style. Even though Merab's cool and he's funny and he's active, I hate Merab's fight style. And it was great to see Yan beat him. Even though Jan's probably going to be a lot more inactive as a champ, you know, when he fights, it's a treat, bro. When he fights, it's striker's delight. That's what it is. And I'm a guy who loves that stand-up. I really appreciate that good technical stand-up. I'm not real nerdy with it. Like, dude, I'm like, bro, like Corey Sandhagen, dude, he's just a jack of all trades. Like, I'm not going to glaze like Corey Nerdhagen for switching stances when he rocks Merab in a fight. like I'm not like that nerdy with the technicalities, but I really appreciate a high level stand up fighter like Petr Yan, and one that's willing to be aggressive and engage with his opponent, and then like throw in some trips, mix it up, go to mix them up university, throw kicks, really move forward and trudge forward at your opponent while being smart at the same time. Like not like MVP does, just jumping up and down at range with his hands down, moving away and jabbing you a couple times and winning the round that way. Like what I mean by a real smart, defensively responsible fighter is a guy that's going to keep his hands up, keep that long guard like Yan does, and then continue to pop you with jabs and then set it up for big shots, shots that are going to cut you, elbows, spinning shit. This is why Yan is so awesome to watch, and I only have him lower on this list because these guys in the top 10, I'm ride or die about them, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they lose a fight, I'm hurt for at least a week. Like I'm hurting somewhere inside my heart for at least a week, especially for a day or two. That's when it's the worst. And then the rest of the week's like, all right, I gotta move on with my life and not be so distracted by UFC results. But that being said, we're gonna move on to the top 10. And at number 10, this is where these guys really start resonating emotionally with me when they lose, especially. Dude, number 10, I got JDM, man. I got JDM right here, bro. And JDM's fight style, bro, it's not just his fight style, bro. When I started watching this guy, I started watching this guy when he first started fighting, obviously. Or not when he first started fighting. What the hell am I talking about? When he was, what was my first fight that I watched JDM? Was it the Holland fight? I'm pretty sure the Holland fight or the Randy Brown fight, whichever one came first, was the first fight I watched of JDM. And I think a lot of people think that Holland beat him for some reason. Dude, he beat Kevin Holland, and he's only gotten better since then. I really want him to start fighting in Orthodox again. That's the other thing, man. Because, dude, watching him fight in Southpaw against Prates was real uncomfortable for me, watching him get picked apart and pieced up like that. He's real chinny to the legs also. Makhachev beat up his legs. Prates, obviously, like, pretty much leg kick TKO'd him. It's rough, man. It's real rough as a JDM fan right now. But last time he went on a 2-fight losing streak. Dude, he went on an 18-fight win streak. So that hope is always there for me. I know he's at a much higher level of competition now and facing guys that are a lot more dangerous. I'm going to face it as a JDM fan, bro. Like, he got a title shot off of beating Gilbert Burns. Yeah, yeah, Gilbert Burns, bro. And that was Gilbert Burns when, actually, it was a decent version of Gilbert Burns. It was an all right version of Gilbert Burns, but nonetheless, I feel like JDM needs a couple more wins. But, dude, JDM, bro. JDM, man. I don't think that's the inside. Dude, seeing him beat Belal, that's the other thing, bro. Like, this guy really shot up on my favorite fighters list when he beat Belal. It's a lot of these fighters on my list is like when they beat a certain guy that I just don't like and I'm hate watching, they shoot up a lot on my list. And when they make it real entertaining and when they make it a brawl like JDM did, I think that JDM versus Belal, like forcing that brawl out of Belal at the time was actually crazy. Now all Belal wants to do is throw high kicks, lead high kicks. What a dumbass against Bonfim. What an actual dumbass is Belal. But yeah, JDM forcing that brawl out of Belal Muhammad at the time was actually crazy, bro. And a lot of people don't give him enough credit for it. Don't give him enough credit for that. And yeah, I mean, he got pretty busted up in the meantime, getting that brawl out of Belal, but he was beating the shit out of him in that 5th round. Awesome round to watch. He was just mixing it up. Knee, 1, 2, 3. Dude, his boxing was so crisp there. And he was mixing it up. Knees, body kicks. Dude, he's throwing fucking everything at Belal. It was awesome. Belal's a tough motherfucker, so crazy that he didn't go out there, but especially, I think it was a knee to the face, the same one that finished Burns, that Belal just ate right on the chin. Dude, crazy stuff, bro. But yeah, JDM's up there. His fight style is absolutely sick. Watching him get laid on by Makhachev really made me sad. And that seeing him get beat up by Prates was like a paternal instinct in me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no, why are you doing that to my boy? You know what I'm saying? Like, I like Prates too, but it's like, why are you doing that to my boy? That's my boy, JDM. And that made me realize that this dude's really one of my favorite fighters. So that's why JDM's so high up on this list, all right, dude? Next up on the list, at the number 9 spot, I'm going to put Alexandre Pantoja. And a lot of people may not understand why I have, like, such a resonation with Pantoja. It's because, bro, It's because this guy, and a lot of people don't give enough credit for it. A lot of people don't realize. Well, it's not because of this reason. This is one of the reasons, but a lot of people don't realize how entertaining this guy is. A lot of people forget, man. Alessandro Pantoja is an absolute entertainer of the highest order. Get out of there. That when he's on your back, that's Alessandro Pantoja's world. You're in deep shit, kid. And that's completely true. Dude, when Joe Rogan was bringing up Aljo's back control on the JRE podcast and saying Aljo's got such sick back control. If Aljo's on your back, you got to get out of there. Get out of there, because that's his world now. He should have brought up Pantoja's back control, because when he's on your back, he ain't just clinging there to hold on like Makhachev is. He ain't just clinging there to make it to a decision and take a round off of you. He's constantly hunting that choke. And when he's on your back, dude, if you're a flyweight and Pantoja's on your back, you're in deep shit. There's no way out of a body triangle from Pantoja. I've never seen anyone get out of it. Dude, get out of there. You're in deep shit now. Dude, I love saying that. I love saying that with the Rogan impression. But part of it is also because, and many of you guys may not know this, but I met Pantoja. And what really makes me mad about that interaction that I had with Pantoja is that I didn't understand a word he said. The room I was in was so loud because I was in the UFC 327 arena in Miami, the Casilla Center. I couldn't understand a word Pantoja said. It was so loud in there. He has broken English anyway, so I couldn't understand whatever he said. But hey, if I ever see Pantoja again, I'm going to, dude, I'm gonna do my best Dana White impression. Go, what's the question, kid? And get an English to English translation from the person next to me. I'm kidding, bro. I love Pantoja. His fights are sick. That Pantoja Moreno fight was an absolute war. Pantoja's chin is crazy. He's able to eat like every shot that he walks through. I think he's only ever been dropped by Figueiredo, who hit him with like the uppercut of doom, and Pantoja's eyes didn't even go back or anything. He just like got dropped momentarily and got right back into it. So yeah, I mean, he's so tough. It's crazy. I'm really worried for him against Van because he is 36 and he is coming off an injury. And yeah, man, I love Pantoja, bro. And a lot of people don't give him, a lot of people don't have Pantoja as one of their favorite fighters, bro. And I think he's an absolutely sick fighter. Both him and Van are, but Van made me kind of mad as a Pantoja fan with him getting up on the cage and beating his chest after he didn't do shit. He was getting pieced up by Pantoja in that fight. And Pantoja's not even as good of a striker as he, buddy. So yeah, man, Pantoja's at number 9. We're going to move on to the number 8 spot on this tier list, Ilia Topuria. Dude, when he was knocking out Volk and he was knocking out Max, bro, I was sad. I was sad for Volk and Max because I love Volk and Max too. I'm a big fan of them. I'll tell you about that later on in the tier list. Or not tier list, later on in the rankings list. But, dude, another part of me, another half of me was just like, oh my gosh, this dude's such a savage, bro. Every time he goes out there, he's an undefeated fighter. With a grappling base, and I know he's got obviously he's got sick boxing, but he's an undefeated fighter with a grappling base who has really good grappling, and he has the full capability to just hold someone down or submit them. He's always looking for that knockout finish to entertain. He is a true gladiator. That's Ilia Topuria, especially after watching Makhachev fights as of recent. After watching Makhachev just holding down JDM in very advantageous positions like the crucifix, side control, full mount, half guard. You know, these are positions where Islam can really get off some damage if it posture up with some ground and pound, look for submissions. What does he do that whole fight? 30 significant strikes, most of them on the feet, low kicks to JDM. And 0 sub attempts. He did fuck all in that fight. He did nothing. Against Ian Gary, throws up a whoopsie-daisy head kick as he's exiting the clinch, happens to knock him down. Good head and arm throw in the second round. After that, he did fucking nothing in the fight. 0 damage. 0 damage done to Ian Gary besides that little head kick that landed with the toes. And then you look at Ilia Topuria in contrast. You know, both guys from the same region, both guys great grappling, talking about him and Makhachev. You look at Ilia Topuria in contrast, and you see a real champion. You see someone who's laying that undefeated record on the line against Gaethje at the White House. Heavy heat conditions, and he's swinging for the fences, trying to knock out Justin Gaethje with an orbital that was broken by Gaethje in the first with a nasty uppercut that he landed in the clinch. And Gaethje's a real dog too. And Ilia Topuria goes out there against a man who's 3 inches taller than him, looks a lot bigger than him as well. The size advantage is definitely there. And Ilia Topuria is just swinging for the fences, man, trying to clobber the shit out of Justin Gaethje. That second round, he was giving all he had for the knockout. Even in that third round, he was beaten up badly, still trying to fight. Third round, he kind of took off, actually. I kind of take that back. Fourth round, he was, really trying to fight to stay in it. Wanted to go out there in that fifth round. I hate when people say he quit. That pisses me off. And his brother called it, And Ilia I don't blame his brother. Ilia would have taken so much more damage probably in that fifth. He was completely out of it as well. Gaethje was arguably more gassed though, but he was losing the fight anyways. It was 3-1 Gaethje. But bro, Ilia Topuria has such heavy knockouts. The Oliveira knockout, even though he knocked out my boy Oliveira, I was just like, damn, bro, this dude is a savage, absolute savage. No mercy in the octagon. And yeah, I feel like, dude, if he would have just walked off on that body shot in Gaethje, he would have won the fucking fight, man. He would have won the fight, and we would have been getting Ilia versus Paddy as a championship fight. We would have been getting Ilia versus Paddy. Dude, I know we're probably still going to get Ilia versus Paddy, but imagine the walkouts back-to-back of Ilia versus Paddy. Paddy walking out of the blue corner. Has a roll. And then you got Ilia Topuria. And before that, it's like the bells that go, dun, 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 dun. Boom. And then Paddy's in the octagon. He's realized, I'm in deep shit now. I'm fighting fucking Ilia Topuria, El Matador. And he would have been undefeated, too. He would have been undefeated. He would have been 18-0 fighting Ilia Topuria, probably at Bernabeu Stadium in Spain, bro. Oh, my gosh. Dude, if that fight would have happened at a championship setting in, like, Bernabeu, Spain. Dude, just imagine, bro. But, of course, old man Gaethje had to cockroach this fight. It is what it is, brother. We take these on the chin, brother. But yeah, anyways, we're going to move on to the next fighter on this list at the number 7 spot. And I'm going to put Dricus du Plessis, DDP. I'm going to put him at this number 7 spot right here. Bro, imagine not putting me at this number 7 spot. I didn't say that I was not going to be at this number 7 spot. I just said that I was going to be in the top 5. But it turns out I'm not in the top 5. It turns out Israel Adesanya just touches his dog in his free time. All right, anyways. Yeah, man, Dricus du Plessis, I got him at this number 7 spot. DDP's always coming out there. And, dude, he's got that freaking power, dude, the style, the Looney Tunes style, bro. I'm just overloaded with thoughts of why DDP is just so fucking awesome, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's South African. You know what I'm saying? The true African. Let's have that conversation, guys. I'm kidding. Not definitely not the true African, guys. Definitely not the real African champion that trains out of Africa. He trains out of Pretoria, South Africa, whereas Usman trains out of the U.S. and Adesanya trains out of CKB in New Zealand. Well, not anymore, but you know the deal. But DDP always coming out there with sick fights. Dude, the trash talk at the press conference, this guy might be one of the smartest trash talkers in the history of the UFC, probably top 5, honestly. Dude, the objective of an opponent at a press conference against DDP is literally just stay respectful. Stay respectful, or just be, just always talk and don't shut up like Hamza. Just like, I don't give a fuck, man. I kill everybody, smash everybody. That's the only way that, that is the literal only way that you can win a press conference against Dricus du Plessis, if you just don't shut the fuck up and you're as annoying as possible like Khamzat Chimaev, or if you just stay respectful. And when Strickland in the first press conference, and when Adesanya tried to talk a little bit to DDP absolutely cooked them. Bro, you think your dad beat the shit out of you? Your dad doesn't have shit on me. And then Strickland starts crashing out, damn near crying. He's like, Dricus, I will fucking murder you, I promise you. And you don't really see Strickland that animated all the time. And DDP really got that out of it. He really fueled up Strickland. And he's really good at rage baiting. After that, after Strickland says, I will fucking murder you, DDP lets out a big cackle. And then, dude, at the Adesanya press conference was absolutely insane. Dricus might have had the first ever 10-6 in that press conference. He said, Adesanya was talking about the underdog or something, or he was like responding to a question about him being the underdog or DDP being the underdog, and then DDP says, "Nobody said anything about dogs, bro. Shut up," or something along those lines. Nobody said anything about dogs, bro. And then Adesanya has literally no reaction. He stutters over himself. He goes, and then he's like fueling his tears. His tears are like fueling behind his eyes. And then to end off that press conference, he's crying and saying, "Oh, I'm a grown man. I can cry and beat the shit out of you at the same time." And then Anik ends the press conference. Adesanya slams the desk, gets up. DDP is, dude, he's a master. He's a master rage baiter. He's a masturbator of the highest order. Pause. But yeah, other than that, DDP's fight style, absolutely sick. The Looney Tunes, the jumping up in the air, the falling pianos, the flying anvils, call it whatever you want, bro. But DDP's fight IQ is actually on another level, making himself unpredictable. Bro, I promise you, you have to jump up in the air. You have to jump up in the air, draw a hole into the side of the cage, and make your opponent run into it with a car. Dude, I swear DDP has some crazy fight IQ, but dude, that's a science that we'll never know. And so, dude, DDP actually may have to be a CTE case study, but that's not CTE. That's just like a different type of fight IQ. He's a fight IQ case study once he dies, bro. They gotta examine DDP's brain, you know what I'm saying? But I love DDP, absolutely sick fighter. He really caught my attention after he beat, who was it? Darren Till? Was it the Darren Till or the Derek Brunson fight? I can't really remember, but it was one of those fights. It was either the Darren Till or the Derek Brunson fight that really caught my attention out of DDP, even though I knew about him before, even though I watched him on the McGregor card. Those fights really made me want to put a lot of stock into DDP. And yeah, bro, absolutely sick fighter. He's in my top 10 for sure. We're going to move on to the next guy on this tier list at my number 6 spot. Dude, imagine not putting me in this tier list, bud. Imagine not putting me in this tier list, bud. Sugar Shane Sean O'Malley. He's at number 6, bro. We love Sean O'Malley up in here. I know this is kind of the casual's favorite fighter, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't take away from the fact that Sean O'Malley is always going out there. I know I've started a lot of these analysis of these guys on my tier list saying he's always going out there to entertain. I mean, I feel like, of course you should. I feel like that shouldn't be a point of emphasis of mine, but I have to say that they're always going out there to entertain because of how badly these Dagestanis have ruined the fucking sport. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from? You guys understand where I'm coming from with that? These Dagestanis have actually been ruining the fucking sport. Hopefully John Pork is a big change in that because John Pork actually is quite a cool fighter. Doesn't have much power, but at the same time, he's always slicing up his opponents with those elbows. He just needs to keep those sausage fingers of his to himself. And, then maybe John Pork can stop eye-poking people with those greasy sausage fingers of his. And, yeah, maybe he can oink his way to a title shot, roll in the mud a little bit for that title shot. Anyways, enough about John Pork. Sean O'Malley, bro. I'm sick right now. Sean O'Malley, his fight against Petr Yan, a lot of people say he was robbed there. I don't know, bro. I don't know. It was a really close fight. I think that's one of the closer fights of all time. Yeah, O'Malley versus Yan. You literally could have had it either way. I think O'Malley for sure won that first round, if I'm not mistaken. But the second round went to Yan, probably because Yan dropped him. And then that third round was really up for grabs as well, man. Yan did the better work with the wrestling, but O'Malley also did cut him open. So I feel like a lot of people are really quick to say that Yan won that fight when it was really up for grabs. But at the same time, brother, Sean O'Malley at the press conferences, he's always, nowadays at the press conferences, he is kind of more quiet. But when that opportunity lays itself up for him to say something, like Zahabi was talking about, if Merab can take me down, I think that I'd be able to take Sean O'Malley down. By the way, an absolutely delusional, dumbass, smooth-brained statement from Ayman Zahabi, trying to visualize that he has the wrestling skills of Merab. Very interesting. And after that, O'Malley just gets on the mic and says, "You suck." So, yeah, man, I think that's really fun. Another thing about O'Malley is, his personality is super cool as well. I love watching his podcast. Whoever the podcast is with, he has a lot of podcasts out on YouTube, so I'm always tuning in to watch those. The Sugary Goo Show has been a real treat to my Mondays after after a big card happens. So I love watching the Sugary Goo show between him and MMA Guru. But yeah, man, Sean O'Malley's a sick fighter. I won't spend too much more time talking about him. But I've been watching him for a long time as well. He was one of my first favorite fighters also. Like I really kind of got on that hype train once he won the title, if I'm being honest with you. Like I liked him before that for sure. You know, all the TikTok edits and, you know, if you are what you say you are. But once he beat Aljo, bro, he was my favorite fighter when he beat Aljo. He was my favorite fighter when he beat Aljo. But now I'm more into the sport. And I have a top 5 favorite fighters. And I'm going to explain to you guys what my top 5 really means. Dude, if you are in my top 5, you are my absolute... Like, dude, these guys in my top 10 are my ride or dies. But in the top 5, it's like, bro, if you retire, I'm retiring. Like I have a real emotional attachment to these guys in the top 5. Like I'm literally shut down for like a week if they lose. You know, there's some exceptions, I guess, but we'll go through it as it happens. But the number 5 spot in this list, we've got the GOAT, Alexander Volkanovski, mate. I have a terrible Volk impression, so I won't be doing a Volk impression, even though I thought about it. I was going to ruin everything if I did that. But yeah, bro, Volk is... I'm not going to... Dude, there's just something about Volk that makes him one of my favorite fighters. And I don't know what it is because he's honestly not even that entertaining. I don't know why he's one of my favorite fighters. He just is, bro. It's just something about seeing this 5'6" bald man from Wingdang, Australia, with a 72.5-inch reach and all this girth and all this tonnage. There's nothing quite like it to see him go out there and put the hands on Diego Lopez, who's 5 inches taller than him. Literally 5 inches taller than him. And I'm talking about the first fight because he was like, yeah, he was jabbing up Lopez on the outside in the first fight, but he really wasn't, you know, doing all that much damage. But there's just something different about seeing Volkanovski wobble Diego Lopez, who's literally unchinnable. Diego Lopez is literally unchinnable. Literally has a chin of granite. I don't know what his chin is made of. He's literally made in a lab. I know I said literally a lot of times, but yeah, there's something different about seeing this little bald dude right here be such a dog in his fights, bro. Like in that Ortega fight, fully locked mounted guillotine. And what does this guy have for it? Spends 13 seconds in a fully locked mounted guillotine with hooks in from the top. From Brian Ortega, who's a jiu-jitsu specialist. And this is prime Brian Ortega as well, keep in mind. This ain't no Timu Brian Ortega that we're getting now fighting Moicano, or, you know, doing nothing against Aljamain Sterling. We are getting a prime Brian Ortega, fully locked, mounted guillotine with both hooks in. And Volk spends 13 minutes in it, kicking his legs, and he dogs it out, gets out of that position. Eventually, Ortega has no more squeeze left in him. And what does Volk start doing? At the end of the round, he starts beating the shit out of him with ground and pound from the top. Yeah, let's go, Volk. Dude, he's such a dog, bro. This is an absolute badass right here. And even Rogan gave Volk some praise on his podcast. And props to Rogan for doing that. But he said, I mean, it's just crazy. This crazy guy from Wingdang, Australia, he just doesn't tap to a guillotine where 99.9% of people in the world would tap to that. And that's completely true. I know I said the Rogan impression like he was saying something crazy. But that's very true. Volk is an absolutely sick fighter, man. I know the finishes don't really have much show for it, and a lot of his fights do go to decision nowadays. I think he will finish Evloev, though. I do think he'll finish Evloev. But this guy's ground and pound from the top is really underrated, man. Volk is awesome, bro. Volk is great. Really watching him throughout his title run, beating Yair Rodriguez. Beating Yair Rodriguez before Yair Rodriguez was even hated like that, but I still didn't like Yair Rodriguez back then, even though Yair Rodriguez is a cool fighter. He's just so inactive and he's a terrorist to the sport, and last time he fought was April 2025, which is actually crazy, man. I mean, it's just crazy. But Volk, I almost said gets this one done like this is a recap video, but Volk is in my top 5. Yeah, one of my favorite fighters for sure. We're going to move on to number 4 guy on this tier list. And I know Volk beat him bloody 3 times, mate. But I have Max Holloway at the number 4 spot higher than Volk. Listen, brother, it is what it is, brother. What it do. Brother, we're going to find out Saturday night. We're gonna find out Saturday night, brother. It is what it is, man. Max Holloway, the blessed era is here, brother. I could do a Max Holloway impression for literal years. I think that's my best impression is Max Holloway. But yeah, Max Holloway, talk about a real entertainer and a real gladiator. There's an interview of him talking about, dude, you think a gladiator walked up to people with a scale and said, I'm 155 pounds? You think I care? You think I care, bro? We're going to find out Saturday night. That's what we always do. And this guy is the definition of we find out Saturday night because I'm going to sound like DC when I say this, but whenever this guy fights, you do really find out Saturday night because he just goes out there to fight, man. They're just fighting. That's what you always say when Max Holloway fights because he is just fighting. He is just scrapping. He's famous. He was famous for the point he made. He invented the point down at the age of 27 years. He invented I'm sick. He invented the point down at 26 years of age against Ricardo Lamas. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy to think about. He didn't even train. Dude, but Max Holloway does train, unlike Jones. Jones doesn't even train. He's just too good. I'm coughing so much. But Max Holloway's scraps are insane. His personality is actually quite funny outside the cage. He's a literal CTE case study, and I think that's why he gets dropped so much, because he's absorbed the most significant strikes in the history of the UFC, along with dealing the most. His volume is crazy. I aspire to be a boxer like Max Holloway. I'm the best boxer in UFC, baby. And remember when he was beating the shit out of Calvin Kattar, and it was a literal beat down to the pulp for Max Holloway, and he was looking at him. He's like, count it out. I'm the best boxer in UFC, baby. And then he jabs him, and then he goes, moves out of range, and he beats his chest, going, I'm the best boxer. And his knockout at UFC 300 over Gaethje, man, that was a different moment. I think that's the craziest I've ever reacted to a fight. The craziest I've ever reacted to a fight. Like, I literally went out of my mind, bananas, berserk, shit in my pants, seeing Max Holloway do that point down, as he usually does, and he hits him to the body, and you're like, oh yeah, they're scrapping at the end of the round. None of these shots are really landing. And then, oh, hold on, the shot's landed. And then after that, Holloway goes to the body for a second, goes up top with a right overhand, and cracks Gaethje badly, and slumps him out cold, face down, ass up, in the middle of the canvas. 1 second remaining on the second best card in UFC history. Absolute crazy shit. Literal gladiator, Max Holloway. He takes any fight. He ain't scared of nobody. You think I care, brother? You think I care, brother? It is what it is, brother. It is what it is. We're gonna find out Saturday night, brother. Max Holloway, absolute G. One of my favorite fighters of all time, for sure, and that's why he's at the number 4 spot in my list. So that shouldn't have to be clarified, all right, dude? Next up on this list, entering the top 3. Now, Volk and Holloway in my top 5. Those are fighters that I love. I love Volk and Holloway for sure. But these top 3 guys, actually, no, the top 4, I love Volk, but I feel like I don't have the same amount of love for Volk as I do Max Holloway in some ways. But at the same time, bro, my top 3 is just every single one of these guys, whenever they're fighting, that's all I'm thinking about for the whole week. And after they fight, that's all I'm thinking about for 2 weeks. So, and it really hurt me for every single one of these guys' last fights actually hurt me pretty badly. So we're going to talk about, first off, number 3 on the list, Jiri Prochazka. Let's go for that. I am bringing 2 crazy guys from my village back to my hotel room, and they are going to see something. I promise you, they are going to see something very big, very low. I'm kidding. He didn't say that. He didn't say that last part. But Jiri Prochazka is my number 3. I watched him get slumped out cold live, wearing a Jiri shirt on my chest very proudly. The name Jiri, the Full Violence shirt, a couple of swords down the middle of it. I'm pretty sure there was a Let's Go for that on the shirt. And all week, I was so hyped to see Jiri fight. He walked out right in front of me, and I was screaming, yeah, let's go, Jiri, right in front of me. I was right next to Jiri, bro. The gust of wind of Jiri's head flying past me, I got a whiff of it. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I'm kidding, guys. But Yeah, bro, seeing Yuri walk out and then seeing how that first couple of seconds of the fight was going, I was like, oh yeah, this is a Yuri fight starting, and Olberg's gonna feel it. Olberg's really gonna feel it, and then Olberg tears his ACL, and I'm like, oh holy shit! And then Yuri starts saying, stand right here, and like refusing to throw a single strike for like 15 seconds until Olberg starts to run forward angrily and trade with him. Olberg keeps falling. Yuri is like, ducking his head back and forth, and he's getting all crazy and all confident, and then all of a sudden, he just gets slumped out cold by a left hook, by a counter striker. This is weakness. Left hooks and counter strikers are his weakness. Gets clipped perfectly on the chin and stiffened out cold by Olberg, man. That was his last fight. But other than that, bro, Yuri is such a sick fighter, dude. There are times where he gets slimed. He's been slimed twice by Pereira pretty badly. But, bro, I mean, the other 7 wins in this dude's UFC career is all absolute chaos. He's jumping up in the air, throwing whatever first comes to mind, truly fighting on primal instincts. And I feel like that's what connects me so much to this dude, is because he is a guy who truly fights on primal warrior instincts. Literally a caveman. Other than Oralbai and maybe Shavkat, have we ever seen a true caveman that truly lives out in the woods and hits trees like Yuri Prochazka? And yes, is it a bit autistic? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is a bit fence sitting of the spectrum what Yuri does in preparation for his fights. But I have learned that recently in his most recent Instagram post, he has been learning how to put his hands up and defend himself. So that's a good step in the right direction. But at least he won't be eating jabs clean to the forehead anymore. That's always good to know. But man, Yuri Prochazka is one of my favorite fighters, truly. And this is one of the fighters that no Diddy, no Geisha. I've literally had dreams about this dude with the belt wrapped around him. I've had dreams of him with the belt wrapped around him after KOing Carlos Olberg, and it just didn't come to fruition. I literally was manifesting in my mind while I was sleeping that Yuri was going to have that belt around his waist, and he didn't get it done. And that's so depressing and so sad for me. I was in Miami, man. I was in vacation in Miami, and I still didn't feel good during the night. And the whole next day, I was training. I was training boxing, man. I was training with Jake Paul's boxing coach, actually. That might be a story for later, but I was training with Jake Paul's boxing coach. But that Yuri loss, like the training, obviously I was focused on the training, but dude, the whole rest of the day I was kind of thinking about that Yuri loss, bro. And that's crazy that UFC results do this to me. But man, Yuri Prochazka, I need him to be back. I need him to KO Paulo Costa or whoever he fights next. We need a Yuri win. We need that belt wrapped around Yuri's waist. We need Yuri as the champion. And I know he gets unlimited title shots, but it's okay that he does because he's entertaining and he's cool and he's awesome and it's cool for dads. And he hits trees in the woods, which is, it's autistic, but it's cool when it's Yuri. You know what I'm saying? It's cool when you're knocking people unconscious in the octagon. But yeah, man. Yuri needs to be back. He needs to be back as the champion. And yeah, we're going to move on to the number 2 fighter on this list. We're so close to the number 1 spot, obviously. At the number 2 spot on this list, we have been fingered by an MMA fighter before. What would it take? Tom Aspinall at my number 2 spot. Dude, I've been saying this a lot on live, man. Tom Aspinall is, if not my favorite fighter, my second favorite fighter of all time. Because Tom Aspinall, every time he goes in the octagon, he gets a finish. He has a 100% finish rate. But he's treating these heavyweights like it's no one's business but his, bro. He's doing these heavyweights badly, bro. He's doing them badly. And he hasn't lost a single fight in the UFC. You don't count the Curtis Blades loss because he literally fell down, took a weird step on his knee, and then just his knee blew out and he started screaming. It is what it is, brother. Like, that's just what happens, bro. It's what fucking happens, mate. Have you ever been fingered by a UFC fighter before? What would it take? He's also very underratedly funny. Dude, I feel like a lot of the reason, besides how awesome he is in the octagon, despite how awesome he was on the come up, KO and Spivak, finishing Volkov, Tybura in the main event of that London event, and he runs out of the octagon and he's, doing all this, and then he jumps on the cage. dude, he's fucking awesome, man. I love Tom Aspinall. And then he KOs Pavlovich on a week's notice. Gets the call to fight Pavlovich in MSG because Jones pulled out of his Miocic fights. Typical Jones behavior. And Tom Aspinall answers the call. 1 week's notice in MSG. What's the question, mate? Sergey Pavlovich in MSG, mate, in New York. Oh, I'll take the fight. I'd love to fight him. And then he goes over there, a week's notice in New York. KOs Sergey Pavlovich. When he was 17-1. 17-1. Aspinall was severely outmatched in reach. Sergey Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach, and he has crazy power, and he was knocking out everyone at the time on a crazy spree. I believe he came off a knockout win against Curtis Blades at the time, who had beaten Tom Aspinall before. Tom Aspinall flatlined him in a minute. In a minute, he did it in a minute, bro. He did it in a minute. And he did it. He did it in a minute against Sergey Pavlovich as well. Tom Aspinall is, dude, and people forget, man, he got cracked on the chin badly by Pavlovich early in that fight as well. And he ate that shit. And then he started doing some weird, head movement on the back foot like that. And then what happens after that? He throws a 1-2, or it wasn't a, oh yeah, it was a 1-2, and then he followed up with a 2-3 after that. 2-3-2, something like that. And he also has crisp boxing for heavyweight, super fast, insane power. Throws a 1-2 with his chin all the way up in the air looking at the MSG lights on the Jumbotron. And he KOs Sergey Pavlovich. Absolutely crazy stuff. Otherworldly power. Hopefully he can sleep Gane with it. He was starting to pick up that momentum at the end of the first round against Gane. And I feel like a lot of my hype towards Aspinall as well, I will admit this, has come from the Jones saga. Literally retired Jon Jones without even fighting him. Do we realize how crazy that is? That's the GOAT. That's the GOAT according to Dana White, because his only loss is a disqualification, even though he actually lost to Reyes. And even though, I pumped it. I'm making an impression of Jon Jones. I've pumped Dana White in the butt so many times that he thinks I'm the GOAT no matter what. So, I mean, and also the only time this dude's ever been out of the first round is when he fought Arlovsky, and he finished him with a submission in round 2. The only time he's been out of the first round was with Arlovsky, and he submitted him in round 2. So this guy's he's always going out. He's never going out of round 1. He was going to go out of round 1 with Gane, but Gane's different. Gane's nimble like a cat off the back foot. He's got a great chin. I'll be very interested in this upcoming fight with him and Gane. I think it's very even on odds. I think it's a very interesting fight for sure. But I do think Aspinall still gets it done. And I think he KOs Gane probably in the 3rd round. He'll take more time with this one, but he'll still be throwing some volume in round 1, trying to, do him like every other opponent. And I think that's a smart approach for Aspinall here. And I need him to KO Gane, bro. One of my favorite fighters, if not my favorite fighter, versus my least favorite fighter, who literally tries to kill his opponents and cheats in every fight. I made a video about it earlier on the channel as well, so go check that one out. I made that one about 3 months ago, but yeah, that would be so amazing for me. I'd be actually going feral on live. I would be going feral on live, seeing Aspinall KO Gane. It would be such an honor to call on commentary. Hopefully it happens at MSG. I think that's what they're going to do at MSG. I'll make a video about that as well, but Tom Aspinall, dude, he's a great fighter, mate. I'd love to fight him. And he's also a great guy. He's so cool outside the octagon. Tom Aspinall's the fucking GOAT, man. I have so many reasons why Tom Aspinall's awesome, but I'm not going to explain them all in this video, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, at my number 1 spot, I bet you guys are wondering, after all this glaze of Aspinall, who's at my number 1 spot? I've got Conor McGregor at my number 1 spot. I've got McGregor at my number 1 spot. I feel like if you don't have McGregor at your number 1 spot and you've been watching for a long time, I think you're lying. I think you are lying, because every time McGregor fights, bro, there's an insane buildup. Ole, 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 ole. There's the press conferences. The press conference is always electric. Everybody's showing up for the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins are selling out, packed arenas. T-Mobile Arena has a capacity of 80,000 people, and it sells out for a weigh-in for McGregor just taking off his pants, pause, and then just flexing in front of everyone. Extra pause. Dude, McGregor is different. His aura is different, bro. The aura is different, and the game is different as well, dude. McGregor in his prime was doing featherweights like it was nobody's business, dog. He was, dude, the Brandao knockout, Dennis Seaver, Dustin Poirier back in the day, Chad Mendez defended all the wrestling. Once he got to Aldo, KO'd Aldo, prime Aldo, who was 25-1. in 13 seconds. And I'm not going to act like I watched that fight. I will admit to you, I was pretty damn young when I watched that fight. I wasn't watching the UFC yet, but every time I did watch the UFC when I was really young, it was a McGregor fight. Like I did watch that Alvarez fight. I did watch some of the Nate Diaz fights. I faintly remember watching those when I was younger, and I did watch the Khabib fight, and I completely remember watching it. The Cerrone fight. Every time McGregor fought, I was watching, and then once he started fighting Poirier and losing. And I got really more invested in the UFC, and that's when I really actually started watching. And then I started paying attention to it probably a year or so later. And yeah, man, dude, McGregor's different. McGregor fights, selling out the weigh-ins, bro, the press conferences. And then when he fights, the walkout, bro, in the foggy dew. Bum, 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 bum. No, 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 notorious. Sicker than your average. And then he pops up on the screen, and he's usually got this big energy about him. He didn't in his last fight because he's on Unk now and he's so washed, it's crazy. But and he's going, he's looking at the camera, and now they're going like that. He's got the swagger about him, the confidence. And then he walks out into the cage, and he's doing the Billy strut, and then it's like the biggie, can't you see? Sometimes the words just hypnotize me. And then the notorious Conor McGregor. And he's, blowing kisses the crowd. Dude, a McGregor fight and a McGregor buildup is just different. It's different, bro. It's different. And then the actual fight to top it off. The last one. That's not a good representation of McGregor, but McGregor's just different, bro. And these new gens, these Gen X or whatever it is, these Gen Xers, they don't understand McGregor like we do. They don't understand the greatness of Conor McGregor like we do. So yeah, that's why I got McGregor at number 1. And he also really got me into the sport, as I just noted. But yeah, that's my top 15 favorite fighters of all time list. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We have lots of content coming out like this in the near future. So like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Follow my socials at the JJMMA. I'll see you later. And until next time, goodbye.